This is a tricky one. This is a tricky one because there are many different elements here where it is wrong that Gina was fired, but at the same time, that doesn't matter. So I'll explain why it doesn't matter. But let's just first deal with whether it was right or wrong. So I looked at her post, specifically the key post that she made. So the key post that she made was where she talked about how the Nazis the made the neighbors of the Jews hate them and made them turn them in, and made the neighbors the ones who sort of put the Jews into the front line and pretty much turning them in for them to be rounded up by the Nazis. And she then compared that to hating people for their political views. It's a false equivalence. It's like I said again, like that comparison makes no sense because one is racially based, one is just political based. One is there are people trying to exterminate you for for what you are racially. Another one is I don't think people are trying to kill you for your political views. They just maybe fight you, may hate you, but they're not really trying to exterminate you for your political views. So it's a whole false equivalence. But that's human, where you can say, okay, that's a false equivalence. Let's have a conversation of a false equivalence. She's not called for people to be killed. She's not promoted violence. She's not racially abused anyone. She's just made a false equivalence. How's a false equivalence a sackable offense? Even if we go back to how mocking people wearing masks or how talking about voter fraud, that's her view. That's her view. How can you be sacked for voter fraud? How can you be sacked for thinking that, why are you wearing a mask? It's just your view. If we now sack people for our views, that's crazy. Now, if you're abusive, you're violent, you really try and actually be extremely hurtful towards another group or so forth, okay, that's another thing. But if you're having a viewpoint that isn't harming anyone, that's a viewpoint where, okay, because if we can't have viewpoints, if we can't have discourse, we can't have discussion, what kind of society are we living in? So that's wild. So you have to respect people's viewpoints. Whether you agree or disagree, respect their viewpoints, have a debate. And I think too many people are pussy and they don't want to have a debate like, that's so wrong. Boo. Now, let's go back to why Disney were right in firing her. Gina, you were pretty foolish. I'm pretty stupid. Because you work for Disney. Let's start there. If there is one company that is extremely protective of their image, it's Disney. Anyone knows. If there's one company that employs you and you know that your social media thing has got to be legit, it's Disney. It is what it is. These guys, they are more so than any brand company I can think of. Disney is the one brand where they are very, very particular with maintaining that family-oriented Disney logo. Hence why I'm like, I don't want to see a blade under the Disney banner. I don't want to see a Wolverine film under the Disney banner because I know that for them, they don't want to be associated with anything violent, anything controversial, anything edgy, even more so like where there's sort of controversial episodes that may not be deemed racist from the past, they'll not put like a warning. So this is the company that is one of the most profitable companies in the world. And they've done that by being very, very family friendly. This is Mickey Mouse. What's it called? I was at Disneyland Paris like a year or 2 years ago. This is a very pro family group. And anybody that knows anything about business is one of the key things to business is maintaining your brand image. Because if your brand image gets somehow fractured, that hurts your bottom line, that hurts your profits. So for Gina, it's all well and good having these views. Fine, you're free to have these views. But when you know that you were employed by Disney, you should know that, you know what? These views I have, let me have them in private because it's the digital footprint. Anything you tweet us, anything you put us specifically when you're so much in the public eye, even if you delete it, it's out there because there are people who are following you 24/7. And if they see something that is shocking, just like with my phone here, screenshot, boom. The digital footprint is very real, and That stays with you. Like, yeah, but I deleted that. Nah, but you still posted it, and we're still going to ask to associate this with you. So for Gina, you may have your viewpoints, but you see, if let's say I was a this is where Gina and her agents are bricks. If I was Gina's agents, I would say, Gina, I understand you have this views here. I understand. Do you want this Disney check? Do you want to keep with Disney? If you don't, oh, tweet away. If you want to keep with Disney, you can't tweet this. Because if based on what Disney's brand is about and how protected they are of their brand, you doing this, they will try to sack you and do everything to distance and disassociate themselves with you. It is just what it is. It is just what it is. Whether you want to talk about the Jewish community and the Jewish community in Hollywood or anything, whatever you want to talk about, you have to just deal in facts. So this isn't a case of like, so when I'm seeing the hashtag cancel Disney Plus or Disney, you don't allow people to have their viewpoints, people are missing a very simple point. And the simple point is employee, employer. You missed that very simple thing. Forget about, freedom of speech. This is not about freedom of speech. This is the employer-employee relationship. As an employer, these are the guidelines. Because this is my company, it's my work, and I have guidelines. So in my guideline, I could say, I don't want anyone eating apples. But I have the free... So I don't want anybody insulting apples. And one time in the canteen, I said, man, apples are horrible. Apples are disgusting. I call you, I say, did you read the guideline? The guideline said, I don't want anybody insulting apples. Baby, keep on insulting apples. You're fine. So forth. Now, this is different because there are no guidelines that she would have been given that says, oh, if you do this, but it's using your logic. Don't be stupid. You work for Disney. And when you work for Disney, you have to tread the line because, again, very key points. John Boyega, remember how John Boyega was tweeting like crazy after he had done with Star Wars? Because he knew that, bro, let me have at it. Saying all these things are just being free because he knew that I can't say these things while I'm still under contract. I can't. Because I know the brand that I work for. And if I say these things, it's gonna... Because I have to write this out. Let me write this out. As soon as I'm finished, I'm free. Because hence why I said, look, I'm not under Disney anymore. I cannot say whatever the heck I want. People are like, but you're feeling your... No, I'm not doing any Disney stuff anymore. I can now do what I want. I'm done with Disney. So for John Boyega, he was far smarter in that situation. But for Carano, you were stupid. See, for Carano, it's like, it depends. Sorry, for Gina, it depends. If you wanted to keep the job and you wanted to continue to play Caribbean and so forth, you were being stupid. If it didn't really bother you, all this, it's fine. But we have to understand an employer, it is to their discretion whether they keep you or sack you. This isn't a law thing or a freedom of speech thing. It's that my brand image is very important to me. You know? So the only leg, and even this isn't even leg she can stand, but the only leg that Gina can stand is, I wasn't giving a warning. That if I was giving a warning that says, if you do X or sacking you, then she can say. But even then, you have to use you work for Disney. It is just what it is. If you work for Disney, I'm sorry, your social media posts have got to be very neutral. Very basic. Okay, retweet stuff like that. Just say very basic stuff, but having particular viewpoints, not knowing if that viewpoints can somehow lead to a backlash of their major consumer base. Come on, bro. Come on. Because they're a business. And for them to function, they must always keep their consumer base happy. And if their consumer base feels unhappy, that threatens their bottom line, because that consumer base may not have a backlash. Based on one of your people who work for your company, they're making your company say things that make me unhappy, therefore I'm pulling my money away from you. And for Disney, once the bottom line has been hashed, boom. And they're perfectly entitled. It's a business. It's a business. And in my business, I am worried about my bottom line. And any employee that harms my bottom line, get out. Move. It is just what it is. It is just what it is. It's not a freedom of speech thing. It's an employer-employee thing, man. Like that vid, subscribe.